Hey guys, I'm Brett and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Sorry I haven't done a video in ages, it's been a while. I've been wanting to come back to YouTube for a while now, but I haven't really had anything to post or do. I was trying to get myself motivated to make some more videos, and instead I just sat around and watched everybody else work on their cars. We're back here. I now have a Mark 6 ST150. I can now join the club. What we're going to do today is do the lowering springs. So I've got a new set of Eibach lowering springs and a really cheap set of spring compressors. So these should make the car sit about 30 millimeters lower on the front and back. So this is the arch already. Like, that's a big gap. And then everyone does those wheel spacers, so it sets the wheel out so it matches this arch line too. I'm gonna have to do that once I've done the springs. Look at this. Jeez Louise. We've actually taken this shock off almost about a week ago now. We tried getting it all taken apart, but the top strut nut, so the one that's underneath that little cover there, didn't want to play ball, and it was just spinning the entire shock absorber. So we're going to go for it again today. Now we've got the whole day, so this should come off really nice and easily. I've like lubed everything up, so as it comes off we can get it all pretty much disassembled pretty quickly. Fingers crossed. I'm just going to take you guys along with the journey. So the quick way I found of taking the whole shock out is you leave the bolts attached at the top, so the top three, these three in. So then you come down to the bottom, you take off your drop link bolt, then you knock out your brake line. There's like a little pin at the back, you pull it out and then the brake line could move out, and then you move out your ABS sensor. Then there's a big bolt back there in the hub, just that one there. You take that out and then you just take a hammer, hit it here and here, preferably with like a soft hammer, but we don't have one of those, so we're just going to give it a whack. That'll shimmy the knuckle out of the shock, and then all you have to do is go back to the top of the shock and do those three bolts at the top, and then that'll just slip out. So this little clip comes out from underneath here. You're supposed to stick a screwdriver in that hole just at the end. The way we've found out doing it is if it's down here like this underneath, you can't get your screwdriver into it. So the way we've done it is you put a screwdriver like this, and that'll touch against this part, and then you hit it with a hammer and it knocks that back, and then you move from side to side, slowly wiggling it back. Obviously if yours isn't stuck in there, you should just be able to put a screwdriver in it and just pry it up. Then the way this works is you just push this out the top. Next it's onto this, which is your drop link. So we've got the drop link off. We've taken the big bolt, this one, out of the little hole it lives in down there, and that means we're now free to release this. We've had it jacked up so you can get this out. We can just give it a few whacks and it should start coming down. So you just hit on here and here. Obviously avoid your ABS sensor cable. And you see it was up there, now it's moving down. You'll know when it's out because this will be wibbly wobbly. So we'll just keep going. And there you go, that's how you know when you're out, because it just falls out. It's like at an angle now. You have to put some leverage on here, onto your wishbone, so it drops down, and then you're able to get this straight. So if I put my foot on it and just give it a wiggle, there you go, and that's out. Then you come up to the top and you do the three 13mm bolts, and then this whole assembly will fall out. So after you've done these few top nuts, just give that one a twist. There we go, the top nuts off. And there you go, the whole assembly's out. What we need to get onto is that little top nut in there. It's an 18mm with a 6mm Allen down the middle. The last you guys would have seen, we were taking the shock out of the car. I didn't film this bit just because we struggled with this bit last time, so I thought we'd put all our focus into it. So literally just a minute ago, we've got the spring off of the shock. It's time to put the new spring on. I've cleaned up this nut. I've wire brushed it. I've cleaned up the threads on the end of the shock. We're going to throw the new spring on in just a minute. We had to go out and get a bunch of tools, so I had to go get out a massive 6mm Allen key, box spanners. If you don't have a go-through socket, the way we did it was put an 18mm box spanner over the top and then get a really long Allen key to go down the middle. On the other side you can get a 23mm spanner just on that side, just on the top. The Allen key goes straight down, so it'd look a little bit like that. because this is an 18mm bolt, and then in the end of your shock, to stop it from just spinning, you've got a 6mm spanner just in the end there. So this is similar to the straight through socket that I mentioned earlier. This didn't arrive on time, so that's why I had to use the tools that we used. This would sit on top of your strut nut, and then you'd be able to put a 1/2" ratchet into the top, and you'd be able to put an Allen key through the middle of it on like a little 1/4" ratchet, or just one of the 90-degree Allen keys. If you want to know what these are called, this is a strut nut socket, and it's 18mm because that's what size this is at the base, and that's what size our strut nut is. It's the same as what's on a Porsche. So yep, we have a bit of Porsche on our Fords. So we've got the new spring compressed. Oh, nice. Makes it easier if you do have an impact, because then you can just boom, springs get compressed nice and quick. This just needs to go on top of here. The way that Eibach say to mount their springs, they say if the writing's facing up, so you see around here, if the writing's facing up, then that's the right way up. Same with the back ones, because I know there's a lot of arguments of, do the closer coils go at the top, or do they go at the bottom, or like do the wider coils go at the top or the bottom? Well, if Eibach are to judge, Eibach say that the wider ones go at the top and the thinner ones go at the bottom, just because their writing's this way up. So now we just need to reassemble it all. So I've got the spring that's compressed, go straight over the top, make sure you don't forget your dust boot. Almost did that just a minute ago. Make sure the base sits in its little notch. There's a little notch there for the end of the spring. Make sure it doesn't spin out of place. You have to like pull them apart just to get the top mount to go in. Obviously top mount has to be in the centre. This little ring on the top mount goes along the spring. That's what holds that in place. So find it on the top, and there you go. Sits all nicely there. It's in place there. Job's a good one. Then you get the top nut, and then you just screw on your top nut just by hand, just for now. Get your tools, tighten it down. I think the torque spec's 40 something newton meters. I think it's like 43, 46. I did know it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just do it nice and tight, because don't know about you, I don't want my springs falling off. When you do this, you're also supposed to put all new hardware. Top mount nuts are supposed to be new. The strut nut is also supposed to be new, and the bolt that holds this into the rest of the knuckle assembly, that's also supposed to be a new one. But we're doing this on a budget, so I haven't got new ones. So now it's time to take the spring compressors off. What I would normally use is a ratchet just to do it so it's even, but unfortunately if I get this in on this one, it hits against the springs, and with this one that'll be fine because I've got all that space, but this one just doesn't work. But if I've got the gun, I may as well just use the gun. So do that a little bit. There you go, springs are decompressed. There's your spring. What you have to do for these, I've done these before, that little orange bump stop there, that lip around there, slots into the hole. What you do is just push it up, all the way up. You can either take a screwdriver and just stab it in there, or you can just do it by hand. I'll show you what it's like putting one of these back on, and then we'll move on to the second side. To get it all back in nice and neatly, we've got the top mount. People say to put the tabs at the top there, at the back of the car, the other nut, like the other splines at the front. I've put loads of copper grease on the back here so it slips back into the hub real nice. Put the tops in first. So all the tops have at least a few threads on each nut on top. I'm going to lift up the hub while pushing down on. There we go. And then a little trick I learned from some guy on the internet is, if you have a spare axle stand, jack up the car a little bit more, put an axle stand underneath your wishbone. So obviously we're trying to push this all the way back in, and then lower down the jack, and then the axle stand will stay in the same place. The axle stand will be pushing up, pushing all that up, and the jack obviously comes down. And then after it's all the way in, you just jack it back up, and then put the bolt through the back, and it's locked it in place. Or the other way you can do it is put a jack underneath the wishbone and just jack it all straight up. So you just watch this copper grease. That should just help it all just slide straight up. Obviously if it does start pushing the rest of the hub up, don't worry too much. This is where the hammer's for. Get the little one. Look at this little dinky hammer. While filming this part of the video, I forgot to mention that to get the actual strut to go into the knuckle, we didn't use the jacking up method. Instead, we just took a hammer and hit the sticking out bit upwards to make sure that the knuckle would go into the strut. So just this bit just here, we just hit that with a hammer upwards and it shimmied it all the way up, and then you just put the bolts in through the back. Now it's all completely assembled, we just need to remount it all. That's a much better fitment for the arch line. I didn't want to go too low because, you know, then you get problems. It's still enough to clear some bumps, but like nice enough to be low. Now it's onto the back ones. To do these back springs, my best advice is get a jack either side if you have one. If not, you can put axle stands as high as you can get them on each side, make sure they're level, and then you'll lower the rear subframe. But I'll show you what situation we've got going on now. What we've got a jack that side, a jack there, you can just about make it out, and what you do is you jack up using the subframe. You remove the two shocks, so that one and that one that's over there, and then you lower the subframe, and if you have the jacks or axle stands either side, as you lower the subframe, the car body will stay where it is, but the subframe will lower down, and then that will separate your springs, and then you just go in, grab and pull them out. And then now what we've got to do is get the springs in, jack the car back up, and then it's all locked in by putting the bolts back through the shock absorber. That's so much lower. Now it looks all good. I'm a bit nervous about those three coils at the bottom being really nice and close. I assume they're designed to be like that. Like that looks like, I don't know, a little rattlesnake or something. Yeah, I assume they're designed to be like that. That's why they've got these like covers on, I assume. But they definitely make the car look so much better. I wish I got it before. I've got a low-line kit. The TRC low-line kits go on as well. Don't mind the dirty wheels. When I get it all cleaned up, I'll do a whole big walk-around video for you guys. And hey, now it's all cleaned up, and don't mind the TRC kit there. I got too excited, so I installed it too early. You can see how low it is now. It's been about a week now, so you can see that gap. This is where people would put the spacers on, so the wheel sits out a little bit further. But Forfair's just around the corner. I don't really have time to do that. But it sits really nice, front and back, with the splitter kit all on. It looks so nice. The springs, even after a week, have stayed like they were. This side isn't too bad, look at that. So I thought I'd mention the ride experience. The car rides super nicely. The only thing I have noticed is it's a bit stiff over speed bumps or potholes or anything that's like a drain in the middle of the road. The ride's still really comfy. It's almost OEM. It's just a little bit tougher, but it does make cornering a hell of a lot better. The back end steps out on these and people blame it on like the bushings at the back, that the subframe's got a bit of a flex in it and all sorts. These springs help a hell of a lot. I've seen a lot of people get a rear anti-roll bar and then they replace those bushings with polyurethane ones as well, which I think is on my agenda to do. But for now, this is a massive upgrade, and don't you think it just looks so nice, especially with this low line kit on as well. I got so excited, I just couldn't wait to fit it, so I just did it. If you want to watch any videos of somebody fitting these, the best video is Mend It Mod It. His videos are top notch, precise, and very well detailed. Go hit up his channel, watch how they put them on. He's also done lowering springs on his car as well. He had similar problems with me, like not being able to get the top strut nut off. But all in all, These springs have been the best mod I've done to this car so far, hands down. Eibach know what they're doing. These springs feel super comfy and they help the handling massively. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.